Magnaflux offers 10,000, 15,000, and 20,000 amperage output power packs. All models provide three-phase, full-wave DC current type and reversing DC demagnetization on one output. Demagnetization on outputs 2 and 3 is offered as an optional feature. Each model comes with the stationary power pack and remote pedestal interface. Each of the 3 bus bar outputs require 4-aught cables connected to them. It is recommended to use up to 8 cables per output, 4 cables on each side of the output. This totals 24 cables for the entire unit. Cable length is dependent on the size of the part, but note that the longer the cables, the amperage output will drop as well. Using one bolt, slide the bolt through the lugs at the end of 2 cables. Then, push the bolt through the right side bus bar of output 1, keeping the 2 cables on the bolt. Next, pull the 2 lugs from the other 2 cables through the bolt so they are flush with the right side bus bar of output 1. With all the lugs pushed tightly against the bus bar of output 1, the hardware can be mounted. First, place a washer on the bolt, then a hex nut, and then a final nut to screw onto the bolt. Manually screw the nut onto the bolt until it becomes tight. Tighten up the connection using the necessary tools to clamp it as tight as possible. Once complete, perform the same connections for outputs 2 and 3. This way each output will have a total of 8 cables connected to it, 4 cables per each side of each output. Using the 4-aught cables from the left side bus bar of output 1, wrap the cable around the part to be inspected, simulating a coil. Using the 4-aught cables from the right side bus bar of output 1, wrap that cable around the part to be inspected, simulating a coil, and close enough to connect to the other 4-aught cables already wrapped. The connections from both sides of output 1 now need to be connected. Using a longer bolt than previously used to connect to the bus bar of output 1, pull the 4 lugs on the 4 cables through the bolt. Now pull the other 4 lugs from the other 4 cables towards the bolt, so all 8 lugs are connected to the 1 bolt. With all the lugs pushed tightly against the bolt, the hardware can be mounted. First, place a washer on the bolt, then a hex nut, and then a final nut to screw onto the bolt. Manually screw the nut onto the bolt until it becomes tight. Using the necessary tools, tighten up the connection as much as possible. Once complete, perform the same connections for outputs 2 and 3. Please note that the cable wrap will need to be done in multiple sections for longer parts. In addition, clamps or prods can be connected to the end of the cables with lugs to perform contact shots instead of coil shots. The way the part is magnetized varies greatly from part to part, and the purpose of this video is to simply give a concept of how to process one part using one process. In regards to materials, dry powder or aerosols can be used. Note that where the 8 sets of cables are connected using the 1 bolt, this is moved away from the part and the lugs should not make contact with the part. The cables were adjusted to ensure the lug connections were a few feet away from the part after they had been connected. The right side panel of the power pack has been removed to show the interior of the unit. This includes the rectifier stacks, transformer, and bus bar connections. After the customer's power is connected to the unit is turned on by using the external white disconnect switch shown mounted on the side of the unit. This white switch is the line disconnect switch for the unit. It will turn the power on and off to the unit. The electrical connection to the unit is made through the roof. As shown, the roof has black panels that are mounted to the gray frame of the unit. There is a notch cut out of the panel on the back right side for the customer to punch out a hole to run the proper wiring to the unit. The customer's power is connected using the proper wire size based on the voltage, hertz, and phase, which are detailed on the nameplate of the unit. The nameplate is located on the front right panel. Additional details regarding power connections are located in the manual. The remote pedestal mount has a power cable that plugs into the front right panel of the unit. With the disconnect switch turned on, the power on button will light on the front right panel. Then, the master on button can be pushed, which is located on the front right panel. This will activate the remote pedestal operator interface. The main screen will appear once the Master On button is pressed. The main screen shows all three outputs that can be set, cycle modes to choose from, and setup screens, as well as other features that will be discussed in detail. To begin, the unit can be operated in manual or recipe mode. When the main screen appears, the Manual On green colored button should appear in the bottom center of the screen. If Recipe On appears instead, the operator should push the Recipe On button, which changes the operation state to Manual On. With the Manual On button lit, the operator can then push the Current Type button located on the bottom left section of the main screen in the Setup Screen section. The Output Edit screen will appear. For outputs 1, 2, and 3, the operator has the option to push the Full Wave button or Output Off button. This depends on the procedure used to inspect the part and whether the output should be on or off. To turn one of the outputs on, push the Full Wave button, turning the button from a dark shade of green to a light shade of green. After the outputs are set, the mag power needs to be set. Push the box located next to the mag power on the screen and a keypad will appear. Push the percentage value that is required and then push the blue ENT button. The keypad will disappear and the screen will go back to showing all the outputs. For the output that was chosen, the mag power will now reflect the percentage value that was selected. This will be done for each output that is turned on. For outputs that have the demagnetization optional feature, such as output 1, the demag power needs to be set. This is listed below the mag power on the screen. As shown, outputs 2 and 3 do not have the demagnetization optional feature. Push the box located next to the demag power button on the screen and a keypad will appear. From the keypad, push the value that is required and then push the blue ENT button. The keypad will disappear and the screen will go back to showing all the outputs. For the output that was chosen, the demag power will now reflect the percentage value that was selected. Please note that it is highly recommended to always set the demagnetization power at a higher value than the magnetization power. This will assist in ensuring the part gets demagnetized to a proper level. The last parameter to change on this screen is the mag shot time for each output. This can be adjusted from 0.5 to 2 seconds. Depress the box located next to mag shot time and the keypad appears. Then, enter a time from 0.5 to 2 seconds and then press the blue ENT button on the keypad. The keypad will disappear and the screen will go back to showing all outputs. The mag shot time will now reflect the value that was selected. Please note that for a majority of parts, the mag shot time should be set for 0.5 seconds. In rare cases, the time may need to be increased due to the part size or specifications. Depress the Go to Main blue button to get back to the main screen. From the main screen, select the Lot Access button located in the Setup Screen section of the main screen to create and save a lot number. After pushing this button, the lot number setup screen will appear. If a batch of parts the operator is processing has a particular lot number, the lot number can be entered by pushing the box in the top center of the screen and a keyboard will appear. Enter the lot number and then press Enter. The keyboard will disappear and the name will now appear in the box. This screen also tracks the parts that have passed or failed, as shown by the quantity next to pass and fail on the screen for that particular lot number. A total piece parts counter is available on this screen, and if desired, it can be reset to 0 by pushing the Reset Piece Counters button. When this is pressed, the quantity next to the total piece count goes to 0. Once finished with this screen, depress the Go to Main button on the bottom of the screen to return to the main screen. From the main screen, the operator can now set up various parameters, including a customized lot report from the Process Parameters screen. Push the Process Parameters button located in the bottom left section of the screen in the Setup Screen section. This will bring up the Process Parameters screen. In the bottom middle of the screen is a reminder to check the black light UV intensity, white light in the inspection booth, and bath concentration if applicable. This reminder can be set to appear on the main screen whenever desired. It is recommended to be set at a minimum of every 8 hours, the equivalent of a typical work shift. To press the box above the hour, a keypad will appear. Select the value of 8 and then press Enter. The keypad will disappear from the screen. The box above the minutes would be set with the value of 0. The lot report, shown on the left side of the screen, is highly customizable depending on what the supervisor wants to see in the report. All the parameters listed in the lot report section can be selected or deselected. If a green check mark appears next to the parameter, that means it is selected. If it is an empty box, that means it is not selected. To select a parameter, push on the box and a green check mark will appear. To deselect a parameter, push on the box again, and the green check mark will disappear. If an operator login is required, press the box next to Require Operator Login so that it shows a green check mark. Once the parameters desired for the report are selected, press the View Lot Report button located on the bottom left of the screen. This will bring up the Lot Report screen and puts the parameters into a report format that is easy to read. From this screen, the operator can print the lot report by pressing the Print Lot Report button located on the bottom right section of the screen. In order to print the report, a USB connection is required from the printer to the rear side of the interface. To gain access to this USB connection using a screwdriver, remove the 3 screws on top of the interface. This will allow the entire interface to fold down. Then, slowly fold down the interface to gain access to the rear side of the interface where the USB connection is located. Take the cable from the computer with the USB connection on one end and plug that USB connection into the rear side of the interface. Then, slowly fold the interface up and close it, but do not put the screws back in place yet. The lot report can now be printed. After the lot report is printed, slowly fold down the interface again, remove the USB connection, and then fold the interface back up. Put the 3 screws back in place using the screwdriver, and then continue to the next step. Once the report is printed or chosen not to be printed, push the Exit button located on the bottom right side of the screen. This will bring back the Process Parameters screen. From this screen, push the Go to Main button to get back to the main screen. From the main screen, push the Utilities button located in the bottom left section of the screen, in the Setup Screen section. This will bring up the Utilities screen. Push the red boxes below the month, day, year, hour, and minutes to set each one. For each red box, after pressing it, a keypad will appear where the operator can enter the appropriate values and then press the blue ENT button after each one. This screen also shows a counter for total cycles of the unit. Once the date and time have been set, push the Edit Operator Login Settings button located in the bottom middle of the screen. The Edit Login control screen will appear. From this screen, the operator name and several levels of security passwords can be chosen. The operator name is entered by pressing on the box below Operator Name on the screen below. After pressing this box, a full keyboard will appear. Enter the name using characters and numbers as necessary, then press the Enter button. The keyboard disappears and the name entered now appears in the box under Operator Name. If there are several operators, use the up and down green arrows to the left side of the screen to toggle up and down to find the operator name required. The access levels are located on this screen, as well as the ability to change passwords. The access level for the basic operator is shipped with the password set at 1111. The next 3 levels are not set and can be set by the supervisor if necessary. This is shown in the box with a 0 for each of those levels. The 3 different levels above the basic operator are the lead operator, supervisor, and manager. The password must be a 4-digit number and range from 1000 to 9999. To enter a password, push on the box. A keypad appears where this 4-digit number can be entered. After entering the 4-digit password, press the blue ENT button, setting the password, and the keypad disappears. This password directly correlates to the access level that has been chosen, which shows as 0, 1, 2, or 3 in the box to the left. The customer will need to determine what passwords each employee in the company will be allowed to know. Once all the passwords are set, the supervisor can push the Help button for assistance if necessary. This would bring up the Edit Login Help screen. This screen details what each level has access to in regards to changing parameters and recipes. When done with the help screen, the supervisor can push the Go to Previous button located on the bottom right section of the screen. The Edit Login Control screen will appear. This now reflects the operator names as well as the different passwords for each access level. The supervisor can now push the Go to Main button located on the bottom right section of the screen. The main screen will appear. The help function is also available from the main screen and located in the bottom left section of the screen in the Setup Screen section. The operator can push the help button and the main window help screen number 1 will appear. This help screen gives an overview of all the help screens available, based on which setup screen the operator or supervisor needs assistance on. By pressing the help button located next to Current Type, the help screen Current Type screen would appear. This would provide details on the current type setup screen. From here, the operator or supervisor can go back to the main screen or get more help. If more help is chosen, another help button can be chosen depending on which setup screen there are questions on. Otherwise, the main screen button would be pressed and this will bring back the main screen. Based on the parameters set, such as the various outputs that are turned on in regards to magnetizing and demagnetizing, the unit can be operated in a cycle mode. As shown in the bottom right section of the screen, in the Machine Cycle section, the operator can push any of the 4 cycle modes based on what is required. The Cycle 1 On button would run the cycle through 1 time. The Cycle 2 button would run the cycle through 2 times, 3 times for Cycle 3, and 4 times for Cycle 4. For example, if all 3 outputs were turned on and each magnetizing shot was set for 0.5 seconds, one cycle would include all 3 outputs shooting 1 magnetizing shot at 0.5 seconds each in length, with a 1-second interval in between each magnetizing shot. The cycle button chosen will turn light green and show Cycle On if selected. If cycle mode is not required, push the cycle button that is light green and it will turn the cycle mode off, which is indicated when all 4 cycle modes are dark green. Once the cycle is chosen and the part is set up to be magnetized, the operator would push the Mag button, which is located to the right of the touch screen, but still on the remote pedestal mount. If the cycle mode is not chosen, the operator can push the Mag button whenever the part was ready to be magnetized, and it would perform 1 magnetizing shot based on either the manual or recipe settings. After the part is magnetized and inspected, the operator can push the Pass or Fail button on the main screen. This determination of pass or fail would be dependent on the customer's criteria for defects. The quantity of parts that have passed or failed are tracked in the Lot Access screen as was discussed earlier. If during the initial setup the operator or supervisor chose at least one output to have a percentage of demagnetization, the operator can then demagnetize the part. Push the green Demag button located on the main screen, which is located in the bottom center of the screen. This would then demagnetize the part. A message will flash across the main screen stating Demag in process while the part is being demagnetized. Once the demagnetization is complete, the flashing screen will disappear from the main screen. Confirmation of the part being demagnetized can be done using a calibrated field indicator. From the main screen, the operator can confirm which mode the unit is in. If the manual On button is shown on the main screen, push that button to change it so it shows Recipe On. With the unit now in recipe mode, the operator or supervisor can push the Recipe Select button that now appears on the bottom left of the screen in the Setup Screens section. After pushing the Recipe Select button, the Recipe Selection screen will appear. From this screen, the operator can select a recipe to run, create or edit a recipe, save changes to a recipe, or even transfer settings that currently are on the main screen to a recipe. Each recipe can have various outputs turned on or off, varying magnetizing and demagnetizing power as well as mag shot time. Using the green up and down arrows on the left side of the screen, the operator or supervisor can scroll through and locate the recipe desired. For example, the recipe here called Test 1 only has output 1 turned on, with mag power at 50%, demag power at 52%, and a mag shot of 0.5 seconds. The Test 2 recipe has both outputs 1 and 2 turned on, while Test 3 recipe has all 3 outputs turned on. With the Test 3 recipe chosen and highlighted, press the Select Recipe button and then push the Go to Main button to bring back the main screen. The active recipe shown on the main screen is now shown as Test 3. From the main screen, push Recipe Select in the Setup Screen section, which will bring up the Recipe Selection screen again. To edit or create a particular recipe, use the green up and down arrows on the left side of the screen and stop at the particular recipe number that is desired. Once that recipe number is highlighted, push the Select Recipe button and then the Edit Recipe button. After the Edit Recipe button is pressed, it will begin flashing and state Edit Enabled. Now the operator or supervisor can change what outputs are turned on or off, as well as the magnetizing and demagnetizing power along with the mag shot time. Once the editing of the recipe is complete, push the Save Changes button. Next, from this screen, the recipe name can be changed as well, as long as the Edit Enable button is still flashing. By pressing on the white box of the highlighted recipe, a keyboard will appear. Type in the name of the recipe and then press Enter. The keyboard will disappear, and the new name will be reflected in the highlighted recipe. Then, the Edit Enable button would be pushed, followed by the Save Changes button. Press the Go to Main button. The recipe chosen is now active on the main screen. If the operator was processing a part in manual mode and wanted to use those settings in a recipe, the operator or supervisor from the main screen can push the Manual On button to change from manual mode to recipe mode. The Manual On button changes to Recipe On. Then, push the Recipe Select button located in the Setup Screens section. From here, push the Transfer Current Manual Settings to Highlighted Recipe button, and this moves the parameters currently set up in manual mode directly into the recipe that is selected on the screen. The outputs that were turned on or off, as well as the magnetizing and demagnetizing power, along with the mag shot time, all transfer and are now reflected on the recipe selection screen. Press the Save Changes button and then the Go to Main button. The recipe selected is now shown on the main screen as active. If one of the rectifier stacks experience overheating, a rectifier thermal alarm will appear on the main screen. Please immediately refer to the Troubleshooting section of the manual before proceeding. After each part is inspected, the entire setup needs to be disassembled, including the lugs, prods, etc., and then the part moved to the next step in the process. A new part can then be moved into place to be processed, and the setup would be reassembled. Once reassembled, the same steps from the start of this video can be followed. If the customer is processing the same part, they can use the same recipe. Otherwise, the unit stores up to 50 recipes, so if a new batch of parts arrive to be inspected, that particular recipe can be selected, and then the operator can begin processing.